I'd like for us here in Colorado to make that attempt to happen. You know, anything having to do with cannabis being wiped off.
The following program, The Russ Belville Show, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on The Russ Belville Show are their own, and The Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we need to rethink and decriminalize
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
All right, good day, tokens, and welcome to the show. It is Thursday, March 7th, 2013, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us here. We've got a very, very special guest on today's show, the co-founder and current chairman of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. Jack Cole will be joining us. He's a retired police lieutenant. He's seen more of the drug war than any of us probably will ever have to see, thank God. And he's got a lot of international experience, been working with a lot of international non-governmental organizations. We're going to talk about the international effect of the war on drugs, the recent calls for the UN, from the UN for the U.S. to crack down on legalization in Washington and Colorado, and just general questions on law enforcement against prohibition, LEAP, and how it's doing, what their current goals are, and looking to the future in the post-legalization America. Also on today's show, for our Radical Rant, a really shocking look at the racial disparity in arrests for less than 25 grams of marijuana in Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. Why Milwaukee County, Wisconsin? It's not just because I'm a Packers fan. Our good friend Gateway Gil Kerlikowski, the drug czar, was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, talking with the police chief there and selling him on Kevin Sabet's kinder, gentler drug war strategies, a.k.a. the third way. We'll talk all about that appearance, and I've got a statistic. I drew this one. Took all this morning putting this one together, but this one should light up my little Pinterest board. A look at the racial disparities in marijuana arrests in Milwaukee County, Wisconsin for 2 months by tallying up mug shots available online. You'll just be amazed by this statistic. Also on today's show, we're going to go behind the headlines in Montana, where a couple is facing charges for being a part of a marijuana grow operation that they maintain were just house sitting, and the judge will not delay the trial even though they've just had a baby, 20-day-old infant who is currently breastfeeding. So we'll tell you all about that. We'll get behind the headlines, plus a look at the judge in that trial, some scathing commentary on that judge. Before we get to all of that, though, of course, we have got our 420 radio news to get to. Interesting headlines today. Illinois medical marijuana is moving forward. Medical marijuana judgment in Michigan says we can get unemployment benefits. Some news from the UK on reducing cannabis penalties, the UN on drug rehab, and Governor Hickenlooper can't get at the tax money. All that on the Russ Belville Show.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the only way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak to my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at www.omarfigueroa.com.
Now it's time for our 420 Radio News for Thursday, March 7th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. Illinois Medical Marijuana House Committee vote. Panel okays pot plan. Full House vote next from HuffingtonPost.com. Hope sparked for Illinois' would-be medical marijuana users after a state House panel approved a measure to legalize the use of weed in medical cases on Wednesday. With the House Human Services Committee's 11-4 vote, the proposal moves next to the full House for consideration, reports The Telegraph. Though Wednesday's vote means legal weed in the state is one step closer to reality, pro-legalization supporters have been through this before. As the State Journal-Register notes, similar legislation failed in the General Assembly over the years, including the most recent lame duck session in January. This time, however, the bill's sponsor, Democratic Representative Lou Lang of Skokie, claimed he's optimistic. This version, filed as House Bill 1, has even tighter restrictions than those of past failed iterations, which at the time were the most strictly written in the country. Under proposed legislation of House Bill 1, medical marijuana use would only be allowed to patients with qualifying conditions such as cancer, multiple sclerosis, and HIV. Approved users would get a special ID card allowing them to buy limited amounts of medical marijuana from one of 66 state-licensed dispensaries. Medical marijuana users eligible for unemployment benefits, Ingham judge rules, from the Lansing State Journal. Medical marijuana users who conform to Michigan's medical marijuana law can collect unemployment benefits, an Ingham County judge has ruled. In a decision issued Tuesday, Circuit Judge William Collette overturned a state commission that found a state-approved medical marijuana user, who was fired from her job after testing positive for marijuana, was not eligible for unemployment benefits. Quote, disqualification from unemployment benefits for use of medical marijuana in conformity with state law, the judge wrote, would amount to an impermissible penalty and be contrary to law, end quote. The case surrounds former Hayes Beach Memorial Hospital employee Janine Kemp of Lansing, who was fired in 2011. Kemp, whose duties included performing CT scans and starting IVs, suffers from lupus and neuropathy, which according to court documents cause chronic pain. Collette noted in his opinion that the state unemployment insurance agency's own policy says that a valid medical marijuana user who is fired for a positive drug test should not be disqualified from unemployment benefits unless that person is under the influence at work or uses marijuana at work. Kemp, the lawyer noted, does not fall within any of these categories. UK Home Secretary rebuffs lawmakers' call for reducing cannabis penalties, from Bloomberg. UK Home Secretary Theresa May rebuffed calls from lawmakers to examine more closely the U.S. states of Washington and Colorado and their experiences with legalizing marijuana use. Parliament's cross-party Home Affairs Committee said in a report that it recommended the UK fund a detailed research project to monitor the effect of each state's legalization of cannabis and examine the costs and benefits. The report followed the decision in the U.S. states to legalize the drug and the proposed state monopoly on cannabis production and sale in Uruguay. Cannabis is a Class B drug in the UK, meaning those found in possession face a maximum 5-year jail term. May's reluctance to alter the penalty for cannabis may stem from the political fallout former ministers have suffered when altering the seriousness of its status. From 2004 to 2009, the drug was categorized as Class C, removing the threat of arrest for possession, a decision that was made up to free police time. Former Prime Minister Gordon Brown reversed the decision after changes in scientific evidence about the effects of the drug. UN report suggests some autism and addiction treatments are akin to torture, from Healthland at Time.com. So-called treatments for drug users and the disabled in some places in the world, including the U.S., are far from helpful, says a new United Nations report. The UN Special Rapporteur on Torture, Juan Mendez, presented the report to the agency's Human Rights Council in Geneva this week and says that some practices used to treat autism and addiction are, quote, tantamount to torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment, end quote. While the U.S. does not place drug users in brutal work camps without trials, as has been documented in countries like Vietnam, Laos, and China, there are some American correctional boot camps, rehabilitation centers, and treatment facilities for the disabled and mentally ill that rely on tactics Mendez once banned. The UN report also criticizes more widespread treatment approaches used in the U.S. Many treatment programs, including those demonstrated on television by Dr. Drew in programs like Celebrity Rehab and Sober House, oppose the use of long-term maintenance with methadone or Suboxone, which are considered among the most effective treatments for heroin or painkiller addiction. And that's your 420 Radio News for Thursday, March 7th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. When we come back, we go behind the headlines and take a look at a case in Montana involving a couple with a newborn baby. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, The Russ Belville Show, Ganja John, and Cascadia Concentrates, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Adam's meticulous designs are individually crafted and screened in vibrant, high-definition color. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org. Let 'em bring in the beat.
Respect the law, but know your rights. And share if you can.
Ask me any question, I'm gonna plead the fifth. Unless you asking me if I wanna smoke a spliff, then I'll be coming over. I'm gonna take a lift. You know I leave you feeling like you got a touch of the gift.
Yeah, this is Brian the Red, and you're listening to 420radio.org. So get a little irie.
That's right, get a little bit of irie going. Listen later on today and you'll hear a replay of Red Eye's Reggae Flashback from last night. A great episode with Brian the Red, so stay tuned for that. It's time for us to go behind the headlines, and on today's Behind the Headlines, we're looking at Montana, where there's this case of a couple, Jeffrey and Karen Fisher. They're in trial in Hamilton, Montana, and the lawyers for this couple have asked the judge to delay their trial for maintaining a marijuana grow operation. There's a couple problems that they've noted. Number one, Karen Fisher, the woman in the trial, has just had a newborn baby, a 20-day-old infant that needs to be breastfed every hour and a half. And that takes about 40 minutes. But the district judge in the case, named Jeffrey Langton, has said the trial shall go on. We're going to continue ahead with the trial, and they will make accommodations for her while she's on trial for felonies for growing. No word about what kind of stress that will give this mother as she's trying to breastfeed a child in the first few most formative days of its life, but okay. Now, the way this case breaks down is the Fishers, Jeffrey and Karen,
the Fishers are accused of helping to maintain a grow house that was way above the legal limit for what you can have for grows in Montana under their medical marijuana law. And it all started when a kid was, he was caught handing out marijuana candy on a school bus in Hamilton, Montana, right? They detained this kid, allegedly, who was handing out these marijuana-laced candies. And the kid then tells the officers that her stepfather, who's a guy by the name of Robert McCoy, was a medical marijuana provider who produced medical marijuana at a shop in their home. And the mom, Andrea McCoy, produced the candy. So they're infused product manufacturers, basically, for medical marijuana. All right, so that's the McCoys. That's one couple. And the daughter is the woman's daughter, and he's the stepdad, right? So this couple's daughter gets caught handing out the marijuana candy, tells on the parents that, yeah, that's where I got the candy. He's a provider. It's all medical marijuana. Well, they get the warrants, they do the searches, and the court records show that upon a second search, they found some notebooks with a time log in it detailing who was watching the plants, when the plants had to get watered, who was on what shift, that had the Fishers' names in that notebook, right? Jeffrey and Karen Fisher, the newborn's mother, right? So that's what's tying them into this case. Now, where it gets difficult now is the fact that the McCoys, Robert and Andrea McCoy, are on trial for their part in this. The fact that, they make the candies, the kid got out with the candies, they got too many plants, whatever it might be, right? They're on trial for their felonies. And the Fishers, Jeffrey and Karen, they're on trial for their felonies as well. But their defense, part of the defense for the Fishers, according to their lawyer here, is the fact that they didn't know what the hell, there weren't any part of any kind of marijuana grow operation. They're just house sitting. They were just there tending to a house, right? They weren't making any major profits. And of course, the court disagrees and they've got evidence. And of course, this will be all sorted out in the court of law. But as part of their defense, naturally, they would want to bring in Robert McCoy, Andrea McCoy, and, get them to testify. But of course, that can't happen because we have this little thing called the Fifth Amendment. If McCoy is on trial himself, you can't call him to testify at your trial and ask him all sorts of questions about this grow site that was at his house, stuff that might incriminate him in his other trial, you see. So their defense is kind of hamstrung by that. They can't really bring up the fact, they can't really argue that part of it. So it's really frustrating. So they ask him to delay the trial. The judge says, no, we're not going to delay the trial. And they only asked, can we just delay the trial maybe a month or two? Let this baby get, it's less than a month old, right? 3-week-old baby. Can we let the baby get a little bigger here? And the baby, as the baby gets bigger, you don't have to feed it every 90 minutes. So maybe we'd have so many delays in the trial. And the judge said, no. And furthermore, you might think, well, okay, maybe the way around this is, okay, you got the mom sitting there on, at the defense table, and she got the baby, underneath a blanket or something like that, right? I mean, that might be the way they're going to work around this. No. Judge Langton already made, actually, it was the prosecuting attorney, Geist is his name. The prosecuting attorney had already made a motion to keep the baby out of the courtroom so the jury wouldn't be prejudiced, right? So the baby can't be in the courtroom. So they're going to have to delay the trial every 90 minutes for her to go for 40 minutes worth of breastfeeding. It's ridiculous. Now, in the comments section that comes with this is the most interesting. There's only one comment on this, and I just wanted to read it verbatim. I just thought it was interesting. Is this the same Judge Langton that used to come to Missoula to totally intoxicate himself because Hamilton is just too small a town to try and hide such gross legal drug abuse? Now he's a recovering total former raging alcoholic, supposedly in rehab and remission? Is this the same Judge Langton that traveled to Missoula and became so intoxicated that he passed out in the Missoula Holiday Inn hallway before he could crawl to his room after consuming who knows how much of the legal drug ethanol? I nominate you for Hypocrite of the Year. If you had any self-respect, you would have resigned back then instead of continuing to feed at the public trough and burn through your fine taxpayer-funded health insurance benefits. That's called accepting personal responsibility. How much did your drug rehab cost us? Did you give up a dime of pay while you healed, even though you were gone for weeks or months? Almost like paid vacation, huh, Your Honor?
Woo-hoo-hoo. Now that's a comment there, and if you want to go to the website and check out the rest of this piece, I've got a link that I'll post in our blog and also in our chat room here at 420radio.org. You can join that here with our Ustream login. Just type /login. It'll get you right logged in, and we can have a good time in the chat room. But first, we've got something very important to get to. As you know, we have very strict union rules, and here's our safety inspector, Brian the Red.
Yeah, I'm going to get right on that.
We'll be right back.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
You okay to land this thing? No problem, man. I think you're going a little high, man.
It's okay, man. If there's one thing I know, it's how to drive when I'm stoned. It's like you know your perspective's fucked, so you just gotta let your hands work the controls as if you're straight.
It's quite simple. I'm a very nasty drunk. I get mean. I get loud. I'll tell your deepest, darkest secrets to a stranger. And I'll puke on your shoes. So, if that's the kind of behavior that this culture promotes, fuck it.
Your one-room schoolhouse of choice. Your one-stop freedom shop. It's the Libra Lounge.
Sundays at 3 right here on 420radio.org.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Groovin' Thursday, featuring rap, hip-hop, soul, and funk music. You can get downloads and more information about all our Daily Toker Tunes by visiting music.radicalruss.com. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Time for Daily Toker Tunes, Groovin' Thursday, and to help us get our groove on, joining us via Skype, we have got the master himself, Bago Schwago. How you doing, Bago?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, Russ?
I'm fantastic. This is the only time I ever look forward to a Bago Schwago.
Well, unfortunately, I have to look forward to them a little more frequent than you do. So.
Oh boy! Well, we'll get you through it. We're going to sweep this wave west, and before you know it, you'll have 50-buck ounces, and they'll be good ones.
Yeah, I was about to say, we already have those, but they're not good ones.
Yeah, we'll have the good ones for you. Hey, you've been getting all sorts of interest from these hip-hop labels, a bunch of independent producers. Tell us how that's going for you as our new music editor.
It's going really well, I have to say. Well, first thing I've learned is that there's a lot of people out there who think they can sing who really have no business in front of a microphone.
Hell yeah.
I didn't think this job would be as difficult as it is, but really after going through so much music, it's quite interesting what people think is talent and have no clue. No, I have to say it's quite fun. I'm honored to be able to do it. I love rap and hip hop, and I have a lot of people who are interested to get music out there and support the cause. So hey, whatever I can do to help, I'm happy to do, man.
Right on. So tell us what we got for today.
Okay, so this morning I woke up and I already thought I had the song figured out, and I thought I'd go do one more search, and I came across this song. It's by a gentleman who goes by the name Rock One Beats. It's ROCONEBEATZ, and that's also his Twitter name. His web address is the same, rockonbeats.com. I sent him an email, asked him for a little bit of information. This is kind of what he sent back to me. He said he's 28 years old. His name's Nate Bissonette. He's from the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. I asked him his music influences. He said pretty much everything. The list is so long. His dad started it off with rock and roll on some turntables. Then his cousins introduced him to Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style when it first came out. And then his older brother introduced him to the Wu-Tang Clan. He said he's a big fan of New York rap music, and right now his favorite artist is Al Green, but he's a big fan of soul and funk. His musical background doesn't have any. He self-taught himself everything he knows with help from his mentor, Webster Beats. And this is his song called Mary Jane, and it got my head nodding, so I thought it was worth a play.
All right, let's give it a shot. Rock One Beats, Mary Jane, featuring Nate Eakin on your Groovin' Thursday. David Toker Tunes.
Mary Jane saved my life, man. I'm telling you. So this one's for you, girl. Yeah. Mary Jane, please come give me that Mary Jane, so we can go and light one up, 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 up. Mary Jane, please come over and ease my pain, so we can go and light one up, 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 yeah. Zigzag or a Philly blunt, roll it with my pocket, take the weed and just go roll it up. I blow O's like a blow money. Our relationship is cold, nose running. Yeah, I got them lime greens and I get them in bulk. I got the real type shit, that Incredible Hulk. I got the King Cooper, my flower always flame. I hit the loudspeaker, the shit to blow your brain. And yeah, I got the shoes, but I ain't got the strings. And I just bought my ticket, a flying paper planes. The hoes that wanna kick it, but I'm with Mary Jane. And I ain't cheating on her, I just fucked the game. Coming home drunk and I'm thinking I'm slick. I take it to bed to smoke and it's making me sick. And my brain's telling me I need to pick, man. I can pick the alcohol, but I think that I'm sticking with the Mary Jane. Please come give me that Mary Jane, so we can go and light one up, 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 up. Mary Jane, please come over and ease my pain, so we can go and light one up, 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 high. Yeah, on fly as I wanna be, smoking all day. I'm as high as I wanna be. Old school track like when they used to rock the Wallabies before the alcohol was my side bitch calling me, but now my phone is blowing up. I just wanna roll up, but she just keep me drinking to the point where I'm throwing up. I just wanna roll up, I just want a different view. I just wanna sit back, I just wanna twist the view. I got a twisted view, I got a twisted you. And yeah, I'm fucking her, but I'm in love with you. Cause girl, you keep me ticking, yeah, your finger licking. Stinking so good, you're right for the picking. But the alcohol, yeah, it keep me sipping. Yeah, it keep me itching, yeah, it keep me tripping. My brain's telling me to pick, man. I can pick the alcohol, but I think that I'm sticking with the Mary Jane. Please come give me that Mary Jane, so we can go and light one up, 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 up. Mary Jane, please come over and ease my pain, so we can go and light one up, 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 up. Ha, yeah, I told you, man. Mary Jane, yeah, she saved my life. It's your boy Nate Eakin, and I'm float, 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 gone.
Marijuana is harmless. That's what everybody says these days. It's fun. It's recreational. Some even call it medicine. But every year, millions of young people find out that marijuana is extremely dangerous. Every year they find out that it's deadly. Marijuana smoke is lethal and toxic. Don't believe anything you've ever heard positive about smoking marijuana. It will kill you. Really. It's really gonna kill you. Don't smoke it. It will really, really kill you. Seriously. It's gonna kill you.
Paid for the way. We're not even trying anymore. We made it all up. Anti-drug thing, whatever. Can't always do it, man. Can't always do it.
road again.
Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Friends, it's time we legalize the responsible use of marijuana and stop treating marijuana smokers like criminals. We're destroying the lives and careers of hundreds of thousands of good, hardworking Americans every year in this country for no good reason. There's absolutely nothing wrong with smoking pot. For more information on how you can help legalize marijuana, please contact NORML at NORML.org.
One of the most disturbing elements of the Prohibition War is how it's made police the enemy of otherwise law-abiding cannabis consumers. Fortunately, one group of police officers knows the futility of prohibition and reaches out to educate the community and current law enforcement. Today, the Russ Belville Show visits with another speaker from Law Enforcement Against Prohibition with one clear message. Cops say legalize drugs.
Welcome back, everybody. 30 after the hour, and we're joined by Jack Cole, the co-founder and chair of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. It's our honor to have you on. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Russ. Thanks for having me.
All right. So people know you from your work with LEAP. Of course, there's there's all the great videos that are coming out from LEAP as well. The question that got asked of President Obama that made such a splash in the news. What is the latest with LEAP, and how are we moving forward now that we've got 2 states that have legalized marijuana?
Well, the latest is we're moving ahead very, very rapidly. We're sending 5 of our directors to Europe, to Vienna. They'll leave Saturday to attend, this will be the 5th time we're attending the United Nations annual conference on narcotic drugs. And so we're doing this not just in the United States, but we're doing it internationally. You know, we have over 100,000 members now, police, judges, prosecutors, prison wardens, supporters in 120 countries. And we have people who have joined LEAP that we didn't even ever think would join LEAP. For instance, we have on our advisory board 4 former drug czars of their countries, including the former drug czar of the European Union.
Wow. That is fantastic. I'm glad you bring up the trip to the to Vienna, and the UN has been in the news lately. Specifically, the UN calling out the United States for not cracking down on Washington and Colorado following legalization, saying that, you know, the United States needs its territories to abide by these international drug treaties. What can we do about that, about these treaties, and how is that playing in the international community?
Well, we think we can do this very well, and there is actually a back out clause on it's called the 1961 Single Convention Against Dangerous Drugs. The United States were the people that instigated that law, and we are the people that drive the drug policy laws around the world. But that's why our people are going to Vienna, and we're going to try to talk to them about the fact that this should be up to each individual nation state and each state in the United States of how they want to deal with drug policy. Shouldn't be up to the United Nations.
And as far as international drug policy, we've seen some remarkable results with the decade-long decriminalization in Portugal, and we're seeing calls in the UK now to again downgrade cannabis to a Class C drug there. So looking at this comparatively, is the rest of the world ahead of us as far as moving forward on drug policy? And can they drag the United States with them?
Well, I think much of the rest of the world is ahead of us, and that's why we do so much work in other countries. LEAP now has branch offices in a number of countries, and there's another dozen that want us to have offices there. Right now we have them in Australia, Brazil, Canada, Costa Rica, the Czech Republic, Poland, and the United Kingdom. And 2 months ago, we started Leap Europe, which is an umbrella organization that will help us start LEAP branches in every one of the European countries.
Man, that's fantastic. The reach and of course the gravitas that LEAP brings to this kind of anti-drug war message. You guys are on the front lines. You've seen the failures of this 4-decade-long war on drugs. Again, folks, we're speaking with Jack Cole, the co-founder and chair of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. And internationally, but in our hemisphere, I'd like to talk a little bit about Mexico and whether or not you're making any inroads with law enforcers there and being able to do any sort of thing to help, that terrible, terrible devastation of that country from the drug war.
Yeah, terrible is right. While Felipe Calderon was president, we were hearing bad things about how many people were dying, and they estimated 65,000 drug prohibition murders in the 6 years of his office. But now that he's out of office, they know that it's at least 95,000 people who have been murdered down there as a result of drug prohibition, and it may go as high as 120,000 in that 6-year period. Now, that's the kind of stats that you get from real wars, not a drug war. This is a terrible thing that's going on. But there are 12 Latin American countries that have already come out calling for an end to the war on drugs, treat drug abuse as a health problem. There's 7 former presidents of countries that have called for that, including, Russ, there are 2 former presidents of the United States who are now calling to end the war on drugs, treat drug abuse as a health problem. Jimmy Carter, and he was joined by Bill Clinton a few months ago when Clinton spoke at the International AIDS Conference in Washington, D.C.
It's remarkable. Jack, I'm wondering, from those Latin American countries and from Mexico, are you getting membership and speakers joining LEAP, or is it just too dangerous for them to do that?
Mexico is very dangerous. There's no doubt about it. Places, things like in the United States, it's dangerous for maybe a working cop to join LEAP in a way because we've actually had 3 working cops fired after they joined LEAP. There's only one of the cases that's actually been heard and decided by the court. And in that case, they gave the person that was fired all his back wages. It reinstated him at full pay and at full rank, plus gave him $815,000 as a penalty payment. And when that was done, his chief of police says, "I don't care what you say, we don't want him back." So the court said, well, that's okay. You don't have to have him back, but you have to pay him for the next 20 years and then give him his full retirement. So if we get a few more findings like that, I'm sure things work out pretty good for our police officers that are joining LEAP.
Yeah, they should be able to do this. They should be able to speak out.
But that's nothing compared to what's going on in Mexico, of course. In Mexico, if you join something like this, you could end up dead.
Yeah, certainly.
So it's very hard for us to come up with speakers down there. So far, we don't have a single speaker in Mexico.
Okay.
That's the only country that we've been trying to get into that we don't have a single speaker.
Yeah, understandable. Another angle on this fight is bringing in more voices to the table. And, of course, LEAP was one of the first groups to bring in the law enforcement voices. Now we're starting to hear voices in civil rights. And I understand Ms. Alice Huffman from the California NAACP is strongly involved with LEAP. Could you tell us a little bit about that and that outreach to the African American community?
She's on our board of directors for our international board of directors. And I was so happy to have her come in. As a matter of fact, we had to change our bylaws to allow her to come in, because before that, to be a speaker, as you know well, anybody can join LEAP, but to be a speaker or a board member, you had to be a current or former law enforcer So we changed our bylaws just to allow her to come in. She's such a dynamic person and has such great ideas, and we are seeing now that that what I've seen all along is all this is based really on racism. And if you go back and you study how any of these laws came about on drug policy, every one of them was based on racism. Even alcohol prohibition, either racism or gender, or not gender, or ethnicity, bias of someone's ethnicity. One of the largest supporters of alcohol prohibition was the Ku Klux Klan.
Wow. I wanted to get into a topic, and this is a little maybe in left field, but my listeners know that usually whenever there's a big story in the news, I find some way to tie it to the drug war, to prohibition in some way. And I can understand if you don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole, but I'm going to throw it out there. A few weeks ago, we had that terrible case of Christopher Dorner, the former LAPD, who went on his rampage and alleged all sorts of misgivings and misdoings in the LAPD, racism afoot. And I'm just wondering how it just seems to me that this is exacerbated. I'm not going to say it's caused, but exacerbated by this warfare militarization mentality that's been built up over the war on drugs. And I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that you wanted to share.
Well, I think violence everywhere is growing because of exactly what you said, the mentality. This attitude of that this is the only way to do this. Look what they've done in the first place. They created a war on drugs. Now, a war is a terrible metaphor to use for policing in a democratic society. When you create this war mentality, you've got to have an enemy, and the enemy becomes everybody but us, everybody but the cops. And also, when you create a war metaphor, in a war, the point is to win the war. Any means are justified by the end of winning the war. And I absolutely think that is one of the main things that drives this tremendous amount of corruption we get in police officers when it comes to enforcing or not enforcing the prohibition laws. At LEAP, we call those laws, we say they're, I'm getting a lot of feedback from the phone, so it's a little distracting.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. We refer to those laws as consensual crimes. Perhaps we don't call them victimless crimes. Perhaps there is somebody that is a victim in this thing, but they are all consensual crimes. Both the person selling the drugs and the person using the drugs get something out of this. And it's when you assign police officers to enforce laws against consensual crimes that you always get this tremendous amount of corruption. And that's when you get police officers stomping on people's civil rights and violating the Fourth Amendment and lying on the stand. It becomes a numbers game. And it's been going on for 42 years, and the police know what a useless thing this is. They know that we have, for instance, 23 times as many people using drugs today as we had when we started the war. When they started the war, we used to seize our largest seizures. They were measured in pounds. Today, our largest seizures are measured in tons. That's 2,000 times worse problem. When I started buying heroin on the streets, street-level heroin was coming in at 1.5% of that powder that I would buy was actually heroin. 1.5%. today, DEA tells us 60% of this powder that's sold as street-level heroin is actually heroin. That's a problem 40 times greater than it was at the beginning of the war. So all these things indicate total failure, and the police know that. So say you're a young cop out there. You've been fighting this war for 5 or 10 years, and you go into some house where you just hit a place that's a drug den, and there on the bed is a suitcase with $300,000 or $400,000 of uncounted money in it, and you're assigned to just watch the money until other police can take care of things and come in and then count the money. And maybe in your back pocket you got a bill from the plumber for a couple $1,000, and you think, well, none of this really matters anyway. So you take a taste, and then you're gone. After you do that, that's the way this corruption starts.
Yeah, it's just yet another way it infects our society. It makes the police worse. It makes the citizens worse. It makes our world worse. And we thank you so much for all the work that LEAP is doing to try to help end this. Want to give everyone a chance to get in touch with LEAP. The website is leap.cc or copsaylegalizedrugs.com. And we've been speaking with Jack Cole, who is the co-founder and chair of LEAP. And before we let you go, any last words?
Well, I would just, my last words would be, please, everybody come and join us. If we're going to change these laws, we have to create a huge grassroots organization to come out against them. But it can't just be a grassroots organization. It has to be a credible grassroots organization. And we don't think anybody is more credible than the folks at LEAP. So if we got to 1 million, 2 million people in our organization, we'll be able to go down to Washington and force these legislators to change these laws.
Oh, Jack Cole, thank you so much for joining us here on the Russ Belville Show. We'll talk to you again sometime.
Bye.
When we come back, time for a radical rant. We'll look at that racism in the drug war when we come back.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Tokers, there's no good reason to get your dog stoned. While it might not harm them physically, imagine being a dog who already begs for treats all day, and then imagine that dog having the munchies. Not cool.
You want answers? I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical rant.
Well, the U.S. drug czar, Gateway Gil Kurlikowski, is on his whirlwind tour, trying to convince everyone that we need to maintain prohibition. And most recently, he touched down in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, home of Miller Park. Yes, Miller Park. So, they were in Milwaukee and spoke with the police chief there, Police Chief Edward Flynn. This went down Wednesday night at Marquette University's law school. And they spoke about this new third way. This is the whole Kevin Sabet, Goldilocks, just right way of maintaining prohibition. And, I've been talking about this forever. And Flynn, the police chief, commended this third way policy as the director of the White House's Office of National Drug Control Policy, a.k.a. Gil Kurlikowski, a.k.a. the drug czar. And they say the third way emphasizes treatment, prevention, and scientific research over the criminalization and enforcement that has characterized the war on drugs policy since the 1970s. By the way, if you look up the budgets, I've got a great graphic for it on my Pinterest account. By the way, I've built a board on Pinterest called Drug War Graphs, or
I don't know, drug war images, I think, something like that. Anyway, you can check my drug war data. I'll post that on Pinterest, but there's one up there of the drug war budgets of the last term of George W. Bush versus the first term of Barack Obama, and the ratio of law enforcement versus treatment and prevention was actually more balanced under Bush than it has been under Obama. Obama has maintained a 3-to-2 ratio of law enforcement and interdiction versus treatment and prevention. That's in the budget, folks. I mean, organizations can say all the things they want to say. You want to find out what they're really all about, take a look at their budgets. So Gil Kerlikowske got up and spoke of his 21st century approach that looks at drugs as a public health problem rather than a criminal one, and said, quote, "You can't arrest your way out of this drug problem," end quote. And yet we're still doing it. We're still arresting people. We agree. Stop the arrest. That's what legalization's all about. Stop arresting people. The police chief added, quote, "We in the police have learned over the last 20 years that we're not at war with anybody," end quote. All right, so to illustrate this point that we're not at war with anybody, I decided to look stuff up because, you know, that's what I do. And so I just went to the Google and I asked the Google, "Oh, Google, great oracle of all things known and unknown, please show to me some statistics for marijuana arrests in Milwaukee, Wisconsin." And the Google brought to me this very interesting website. It's called who'sarrested.com. And on this website, they post mugshots of people who have been arrested for various things. Mugshots available from the public records and usually up on the websites of various metro area county sheriff's offices. In fact, my own home county, Ada County, Idaho, is among the ones up there, as is Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. So to take a look at this, I decided let's take a look at the mugshots of the people who've been arrested for marijuana in Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. And we're going to limit it. We're going to limit it to just less than 25 grams. Less than an ounce, right? An ounce is 28 grams, right? So we're even talking like 7/8 of an ounce and less, right? So low level personal amounts of marijuana. And for the sake of time, because we are a 1-hour show, we're going to limit our look at these mugshots to just the people who are arrested from January and February of 2012. Now, for the sake of the racial balance on this, what I've done is I've broken the mugshots down to people who are black versus people who are white. The blacks will be on the screen left and the whites will be on screen right. And in the middle, people who are neither black nor white. Hispanic, Asian, whatever. And it's a crude method, I'll agree. Comparing that to bars for their representation in the county by population and their representation in the state of monthly pot smokers. Now, as we begin, the mugshots are pretty even. The blacks, the middle, and the whites are all pretty much even. We're getting the same number of mugshots to take a look at. We find that 7.9% of monthly pot smokers in Wisconsin are black. 10.4% of the population in Milwaukee is of other races. And, oh, looky there. We ran out of white mugshots already. They went by really quickly. So there we're starting to run out of the Latino, Hispanic, Asian mugshots, which actually, compared to their use of marijuana and their share of the population, the non-white, non-black people are represented in our arrests mugshots fairly proportionally. But as you can tell, the white population and the white pot smokers bars continue, as does the black population bar and do the black mugshots. And it is important to know that these are just the mugshots from a public website of people arrested for small amounts of marijuana. These aren't official statistics in any way, although I can guarantee you look those statistics up and you will still see this glaring racial disparity. And to be fair, we're using very crude and subjective judgments as to who in these photos is non-white and non-black. I may have made a mistake there, so please forgive me if someone in the middle column is actually black or white. I may have made the mistake, but it's really just to make this point. These population statistics are from the Milwaukee County Census stats. We count the non-Hispanic whites as white. The label for blacks is directly from the census account, so we count that variable for them. We find that blacks in Milwaukee County make up 27% of the population in Milwaukee County. And compared to what they make up in the marijuana arrests, you will find that if the black mugshots for less than 25 grams of marijuana were proportional to the black population of Milwaukee County, this is the point where we would have run out of mugshots. But as you can see if you're watching our live screen, the black mugshots continue without a white mugshot or Latino mugshot to be seen anywhere on the screen. Now, also notice we've run out of black population bar. All we have now is the bar for white population and for white pot smokers. We ran out of the white mugshots a long time ago. There were 11 of those. So the black mugshots continue. These are the people that we're not making any sort of war on, according to the Milwaukee police chief. There is no war going on in this war on drugs, even though every one of those men in these photos is someone who was arrested and booked and now has a mugshot that's publicly searchable. Didn't take me too long to find it today when I was putting this together. Now, the stats for pot smoking, these are coming from the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. It's called their RDAS from 2002 to 2011, and you can reduce that to just the whole state of Wisconsin. There is some variability in the data. There is a margin of error, but generally speaking, these are the rates at which white people versus black people versus Hispanic and other race people are using marijuana. Milwaukee County pot smoking numbers might be different than these state level numbers, but generally black people and white people have similar rates of marijuana use and frequency, usually about the same, depending on what level, what economics and so forth. And it can vary, but again, there's usually not much racial difference when we look at blacks and whites. Latinos use marijuana less than they are proportionally represented in the country, and Asians very rarely use marijuana compared to their proportional representation. And you also have to consider we're only looking at the people who have admitted to smoking pot within the past 30 days to a government researcher in an anonymous phone poll. So there might be some variability there too. Some people might not want to be so honest about their pot use. And the black mug shots keep ticking on by. Now, the white people in Milwaukee County make up 54.2% of the population of Milwaukee County. If the mug shots were proportionally represented based on the population, this is where we would have run out of white mug shots. But of course, as we mentioned earlier, we ran out of white mug shots. There was only 11 of those. So we ran out of those a long, long time ago. Now, we are still looking at a green bar on the far right side of the screen. That still represents the proportion of white pot smokers in the state of Wisconsin. And if the mug shots for the less than 25 gram marijuana arrests were proportional to the white pot smokers in Wisconsin, we'd still be scrolling past white mug shots, not black ones. But again, the only faces on the screen right now, for those of you listening to the podcast, is a continuing stream of black faces. People from January and February of 2012 who were arrested for marijuana in possession of less than 7/8 of an ounce in the state of Wisconsin, in Milwaukee County. These mugshots are all available on a free public website that allows for searching by name and through most major metro counties. So if you've been put on this website, good luck trying to get a job. The next employer that's going to be searching through your resume or searching through your applications, going to plug your name in, and right there at who'sarrested.com, a fancy little mugshot showing that you are a drug criminal. And the cycle continues. And some of the arrests from this listing are not even included because they didn't have a mugshot. So it's likely that this segment would have been even much longer if I'd included all of the people who didn't have a particular mugshot between January and February of 2012 on this publicly accessible website. And the black faces keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And this is what's going on in the war on drugs. You also may have noticed how few of the mugshots were of females or people older than 35 years old. That's because, well, at least in Milwaukee County, the arrests for marijuana possession in low amounts are for young black men. And in the state of Wisconsin, 83% of monthly pot smokers are white people. 83% of the pot smokers in the state of Wisconsin are white people, but as you can see, we see no white faces when we get to the 83%. In fact, we end up with 2 more black mugshots
than the proportion of white people in the whole state of Wisconsin who smoked marijuana this month. So Gil Kurlikowski, Police Chief Finn, you're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling the people in the community that realize what this war is all about. You can get this graphic on my Pinterest account, pinterest.com/RadicalRuss.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
Hey, stick with us for hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. We got lots to talk about. Ryan the Red's with us as well. We're going to have ourselves a good time. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.